Alright, let's get this over with.
Let's get the bit of cake.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it!
So The Suicide Squad is a reboot or a sequel to Suicide Squad. Not really sure which. And this time we have James Gunn at the helm, and this is someone that I'm just not as mesmerized with as everyone else seems to be.
Move this man!
But before I get into that, I'm going to start, as always, with some positives. The best thing about this movie to me is Idris Elba. This man is a national treasure. I honestly believe that he can do no wrong anytime he's in a film. It is a little weird that he's basically playing a character that's almost the exact same character to the person he's trying to replace, that being Will Smith's Deadshot. But Idris, nonetheless, is very likable in the role, and I feel like he's one of the few characters in this movie who actually has a real character arc. Of course, it is a character arc that we've seen before. The reluctant hero that turns into a legit leader of a hero. But it is something, and Idris does make it work to the best of his abilities. I will also say that as ridiculous as it is to have a character like Ratcatcher in the movie at all, she did get a lot of little character moments that made her seem much more relatable, and she kind of acts as the conscience of the whole team.
You didn't see that coming.
I also thought that the team dynamic was handled very well. They have to introduce a lot of characters in a very short amount of time, and that's not easy to do. This approach oftentimes leads certain characters to being underutilized. But they do allow for each member to have their big moment in the movie. Of course, they are flawed individuals, they're villains after all. But each character does come with baggage that they have to sort through, and that I can appreciate. I've said this a million times, but Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is perfectly cast. She's just been in pretty bad movies. But she is usually the best part of whatever bad movie she happens to be in. And while she may not be my favorite part of this particular movie, she's still very good at what she does. Even if at times she feels a little bit less and less like the Harley Quinn that we're used to. Okay, now comes the part where all the thumbs down reactions are going to start.
Let's gut the freaking nerd.
I see a lot of people praising this movie right now, and that's fine. People are entitled to whatever opinion they have. And I, for the most part, respect those opinions, and that's rare in this day and age. I made it very clear in my trailer reaction that there was nothing in this movie that interested me. And upon actually finally watching the movie, most of my complaints were actually verified. I went into this with the goal of being objective, because I believe every critic should be, but I also can't deny my natural instinct to just be turned off by certain things in movies, or even certain directors.
That makes sense.
I mean, that's what makes your personal preference unique to you. But the reality is that I'm just simply not a fan of James Gunn's style of work. For whatever reason, I just don't connect with his brand of humor, or his kind of quick draw, zany, quirky style that he brings to every single movie that he's involved with. I talked a lot about his reliance on juvenile humor. And while I'm happy to say that it's not constant throughout the movie, it's still there. If you're looking for jokes about dicks, shit, or buttholes, then James Gunn is the guy for you.
Starfish is a slang term for a butthole. Think there's any connection?
Haven't you ever heard of the healing power of laughter?
And then there's these moments throughout the movie, and it's mostly with the John Cena character, where he's saying a line of dialogue that's clearly supposed to be quirky and fun, but it just comes off as trying really hard to be cool. I don't know if it's the writing or the delivery, but that's just how it comes off to me. They also use comedy to kind of subvert your expectations by having these, I guess you could say, shocking deaths that are supposed to be comedic. But again, that also just came off as trying too hard. Being shocking for the sake of being shocking, I guess.
Why?
Moving on, it seems like every modern movie needs a CGI character, with the goal being, I guess, that it's supposed to be cute and endearing and something for the audience to connect with. But at this point, from Baby Yoda to Groot to now the mini Stay Puft Marshmallow people, it just all seems very gimmicky to me. And that character in this movie is Fat Shark King. And the reason I call him Fat Shark King is because his design is very dumbed down. He's not muscular, he's not badass. He's kind of frumpy, and he's just there as a punchline and basically to sell toys. At least that's what it feels like.
Bird.
Where does it get those wonderful toys?
Starro is the villain of this movie, and I say again, some things just don't translate from comic book to film. The finale of this movie is like watching a giant cartoon character destroy a city. It's basically Attack of the 50-Foot Patrick.
Doesn't look familiar to me.
I mean, I get it, it's supposed to look ridiculous because it is, but that only works if you can accept that ridiculousness as a viewer. And I'm here to tell you, I'm just not one of those people. I need some kind of stakes at the end of a movie to be invested in the finale. And it's hard to take a giant CGI starfish that looks like a cartoon character seriously as a viable threat. I mentioned earlier how each character gets their own moment to shine, but in my opinion, it doesn't really make me care about them whatsoever, probably outside of the Idris Elba character. I'm just not sold on these wacky designs that look like cosplay outfits or their quirky dialogue. No matter how many times you try to give these characters depth, and there are opportunities for that, it always goes back to some kind of bit, and it just makes it really hard for me to give a shit about them.
Fuck me, right?
I'll say it like this, if the whole movie is designed to make these characters look ridiculous and like the joke that they are, it's difficult for me to care about them when you decide to get serious in select moments. That's what makes it feel like the tone of this movie is kind of all over the place, and the major problem that I have with forced comedy is that it disrupts the tone of the movie typically. This movie is also very violent. It puts the blood and guts on full display. There was a time when that sort of thing was cool, but now in modern movies it just feels like that they're compensating for something. Like they're using blood and guts as a crutch basically, and that's the vibe that I got here. I'm not even 100% sure that this movie needed to be rated R necessarily. I'm all for rated R superhero movies, and it would seem that Suicide Squad would lend itself to that. But as far as the content and the story that they were trying to tell in this movie, I don't necessarily think that all of that was necessary. It just comes off as an excuse to say fuck more in the dialogue.
Fuck you!
Overall, there were aspects of the Suicide Squad that I thought were okay, but the movie just doesn't give me a reason to care about it. It's supposed to be funny, but I didn't really laugh. It's supposed to be shocking at times, but I wasn't invested enough to care. This feels like movies that I've seen before, just with a shiny new paint job. To be honest, this Suicide Squad made me feel very similar to how I felt at the end of the other Suicide Squad movie. I'm just not convinced that Hollywood has found the right way to adapt this team just yet, but I'm sure they're going to keep trying. They've yet to find that balance between dark humor and seriousness that I'm looking for in the property. For that reason, I'm going to give the Suicide Squad the Careless Sam Gerard.
I don't care!
So have you seen the Suicide Squad? If you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Now be cool. Shut up.